I've just told my client, like, yeah, I'll work with you, right? I still do the credit analysis, but I'm very, I guess, choicey or particular who I pick up, just because it can be time consuming, and I have so much going on in crypto, right? And I don't want to lose thousands in some cases to make a couple of hundreds. And so, but with you all still doing much of the fighting and helping your clients, have you seen a a slower process of getting negative accounts removed and or deleted in the credit world?
Yeah, it's actively happening. Um, for sure. I would say 100% yes. It is happening more and more for every
Mhm.
fall that I touch. But what brings you to ask that? Like, have you seen this happening? Like a majority of the clients that are coming through?
With me,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, there have been accounts that I know from some of my clients that I was working with last year, that the very first time it just it was deleted. And then when they got their updates, they may have informed me in January that this wasn't deleted, it was updated. One just right at the top of my head, for me, it's been Capital One charge off, right? I Capital One charge offs period just was no problem. And so when this client came to me a second time and said it wasn't deleted the second time, I said, well, okay, no big deal. But then the third time, I'm like, wait, it never takes me three times for usually a charge off. What's going on in the credit world? And so there's have been some things that I know from doing this for years that was the first time for me, success, deleted. And recently, it may take two, maybe three times. And I don't think anyone in the credit world is talking about that, or maybe even being honest with that. I think they are trying to continuously to push their do-it-yourself products out, and I'm almost 100% sure that's not effective, right? Because we are transitioning to more of a resilience, more to FICO 10, and now more into, as I was saying on my earlier live stream, the the effects of cryptocurrency going into 2022, and how it's going to not only reset the monetary system but the credit system as well. And so I just wanted to know, was this some of the same things for you all, or is it's pretty much been the same?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I've seen delays for sure. Inevitable, right? Like we get that quite often. And I think it's kind of fair play from the credit bureau side in a sense that they got some sort of extension. Look at the CFPB, for example, right? Let's take these big joke of an agency down in a perspective like fiduciary duty, right? Back in the days, we used to file complaints on the CFPB and we get like answers within 15 days. Remember? Those were the good old days, right?
Hmm.
Now they're no different than the Better Business Bureau. They're just a mediation agency, right? But I'll tell you what, they're going after credit repair companies. That much I know, right? Like lately with the case, not too long ago, a couple of months ago, actually, well, almost a year now, they went after credit repair cloud, right? And the problem with that is a lot of people don't realize that if you're starting a credit repair business now and you're part of credit repair cloud, if the CFPB decides to get a subpoena on the book of records, that means they get access to a gold mine of credit repair companies they can go after, right? There's just a heads up there. But on that perspective, to address that question in reference to the situation where the delays, yeah, it's happening more and more. I think COVID had something to do with it, but it's inexcusable to say, oh, a big organization that's multi-billion-dollar with shareholder equity in the public market cannot adapt to fixing and systems and adapting to ensuring that they can systematically adjust in speed of efficiency to resolve matters that are critical to consumers at this time of day in an economic situation who are depending on credit to get that system fixed so that they can better leverage that platform for risk mitigation. So I think they're using that as an excuse, but also like they're getting a lot of green light from the authorities. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Uh, I've seen cases, by the way, because of gag orders, we're not allowed to disclose them. So without really talking about who they are, the customers, or which bureaus they are, but I've seen, and by the way, the reason I know that is because some of the attorneys that I deal with, I send them clients, and I become privy to the knowledge of what's happening in those cases. And I've seen credit bureaus say, well, look, if we didn't answer that, it's up to you to let us know that we didn't answer that. And the client said, well, I sent you mail 4 months, 4 consecutive rounds, well, 6 months, like the 4 rounds, I said, well, nothing was changed. It's like, well, we didn't see your file, right? And the reality is there was. And then what happens is for the judge, it becomes a too labor-intensive process to get the documents of evidence from the credit bureau side. So the judge simply dismissed it. And it's at their discretion. You see what I'm saying? So even law cases like that you're going against the bureaus, you might not win. Simply because there's way more important matters at hand that require the attention of the court system, right? And trials, they last like 2 years later as a trial date, So you're stuck with terrible credit in the meantime. So yeah, I've seen a lot of that, and it's unfortunate. But you're right. One of the things Queen mentioned was a lot of credit gurus are not talking about that, right? And the reason why, it's because that's going to put them out of the game because they're selling a broken system. Yes. So that's why, like, being honest and transparent from the get-go is a critical component to our business success, for sure.
Okay.
Well said.
Yeah. So let's see. Well, that's amazing. Yeah, Josiah, what's up?
Said, when is bankruptcy a good deal? So we got a couple questions in here. We got like 4 new questions.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about that? Bankruptcy, when is it a good idea?
Never. Never a good idea. I mean, I don't know unless you Trump. I mean, if you Trump, maybe. If you 50 Cent, maybe. Depending on what your situation is. If you know you're trying to hide something, bankruptcy is your route. But if you in debt, I mean, what my mentor taught me is we gotta try and pay that thing down. We gotta try and beat those interest rates. We gotta try and get ahead of the game. Would you rather not want to be able to borrow for the next 10 years, or you want to do whatever you gotta do to pay down that debt? You know what I mean? Because you're gonna need that money once again. If you're not a rich man or a high cash flowing person, you're gonna have to borrow again, unfortunately. But if you want to take that bankruptcy route and then try and get it removed, you can. I just like to tell people it depends on what type of time you're on and what's your situation, because everybody's situation is different at the end of the day. I mean, so I know somebody personally that was going to go through the bankruptcy route, and then my mentor just gave her she gave me the knowledge and I passed it on to her. Like, let's not go that route. She was going to do debt consolidation. That'll shred you as well. Let's not go that route. Actually do whatever you got to do to pay it off. Unfortunately, you put yourself in that position. You got to get yourself out. Stop trying to cheat yourself out with a bankruptcy. And what she actually did was borrowed against her 401k just to beat out the 40 grand in debt with the credit card companies. Smart move, right? But she did what she had to do. So that's my take on it.
An intelligent mentor, I must say. Queen, what are your thoughts on bankruptcy?
It's going to be different. It is going to be different. I do agree with Jay. If you can afford to not need credit, if that bankruptcy report 10 to 7 years and you're cash flow rich, I think it's a great idea, right? I also think it's a great idea to use bankruptcy if you actually have some assets and now you are paying back a cheaper price with devaluating dollars, which is what we have right now because of all these stimulus and helicopter money. So it's always a good idea to me to leverage a credit or a bankruptcy to pay back at devaluated dollars. And you have assets. The bankruptcy that I'm upset with seeing, and then you have some people that say, well, like he said, 50 Cent filed bankruptcy. Yeah, but they have assets. Donald Trump filed bankruptcy. Yeah, but they have assets. You have department store cards and credit cards for bankruptcy. And now, can you live without credit for maybe however long that bankruptcy is going to report, or at least for 2 years, right? Because that's when the bankruptcy is the most damaging, reporting to your credit score, right? After 3 years, not as much. And so I think bankruptcy is a tool, like the borrowing against a 401k to pay off credit cards. I would never do, because credit cards are unsecured debt. There's little or no repercussions other than either making a settlement to pay less back. Sometimes banks will make a settlement with you, and so now you have some banks that will take you to court for the unpaid debt, like American Express. I've seen it, $10,000 to take you to court. But even in court, you can make a settlement to pay back a third less. And so credit cards are something that I really preach to people that you should not be stressed out about, because there's no collateralized agreement to that. Um, and a lot of times, some people just elect to, if they cannot make payment, they make non-payments on it. It goes to charge-off status. They get the charge-offs deleted. They make agreements to pay less, and they go build new bridges because they burnt the old ones with new banks. Um, it is a tool, but I think some people use it in the incorrect way. They're not using it in the 50 Cent or Donald Trump way, which is to secure assets, right? So